Mexicans don't like him. A lot of Mexicans don't like him. I go to Mexico a lot. They don't like him. They like us. He's a come in Spanish in Puerto Rico.
It's fight week for Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga, and they've kicked off the fight week with a very heated face-off. It definitely didn't last long, as it was a brief confrontation between the pair as they began their media duties. If you guessed the continuity of their previous trash-talking, you definitely aren't wrong.
When I started the whole Jester thing, I feel like he was just inviting me to his private part downstairs. He was like, bam, bam, bam.
Only that Canelo Alvarez was more quiet this time. As the teams of both fighters walked across the hallway in Las Vegas, Edgar Berlanga walked up to Canelo Alvarez and confronted him. As we all know, the size advantage isn't on Canelo Alvarez's side. Again, Berlanga's move did prove that, but Berlanga wasn't having mean intentions. His move up to Canelo wasn't to create any chaos, but to cause some drama.
Person that eats.
So
You know what I'm
for the Mexican fans then that don't like him.
A lot of Mexicans don't like him.
And give his supporters something to talk about. Berlanga moved up to Canelo Alvarez, greeted him casually, and stared him down briefly before walking away. With this, there's so much to look out for when the pair go ahead with several rounds of face-offs in the coming days. Edgar Berlanga nicknamed himself the Chosen One before the start of his boxing career.
Well, a lot of guys in Mexico that was like selling oranges on the corner and stuff. He started his career in
But at
Mexico.
no other time than now is he in the best position to prove to himself, his fans, and the entire world of boxing that he is the real Chosen One. It takes only a prince who has been chosen to unseat a boxing royalty like Canelo Alvarez, who has dominated the sport for years. He has won it all. And despite Canelo Alvarez being closer to his retirement than his peak, he isn't looking ready to leave the throne yet. Undoubtedly, there's so much to watch out for when they go head-to-head in the squared circle. It's a battle of every kind of boxing quality. A battle of boxing IQ, a battle of power, a battle of strength.
They're screaming at me, "Tú vas a ganar Canelo! Gana Canelo, puñet!" So mira, Mexicans.
A battle of techniques, and most importantly, a national battle between Mexico and Puerto Rico. It's gotten so intense that Canelo Alvarez has predicted that he would do what he hasn't done in most of his recent fights. He has promised Edgar Berlanga a knockout in 8 rounds. Berlanga didn't only nullify that when he reminded the boxing world of a similar prediction from Canelo in his last fight. However, he was only able to end up with a decision victory. He then capped it up with a prediction to beat up Canelo Alvarez within the first 6 rounds. As the big fight between Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga approaches, a fight that will take place on September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The voices coming from the Puerto Rican fighters' side are of pure optimism. At least that's what Mark Fitt.
If you concentrate on the last 3, then you're a fool, right? Because you don't know what he's going to bring. He's a great fighter. He's a legend, right? So you can prepare for...
Edgar Berlanga's trainer said in an interview given to YSM Sport Media. Fitt explained that the preparation for this fight is not limited to Canelo's last fights, but that they are planning a strategy based on all his previous fights, which is the best way to face him. For the way he fought Charlo or the way he fought Munguia, because he'll give you something totally different. You just have to be ready for any surprise. You just prepare for a little mix of everything, the trainer specified. He mentioned Canelo's wins against Gennady Golovkin in 2017, 2018, and 2022, and the loss to Floyd Mayweather in 2013. Altogether, man, you have to look at his work. So that's what we've been doing. Ferret is the trainer who turned Edgar Berlanga pro, although they parted ways for a while before working together again in 2023.
Going to be going to look for the knockout.
No, la verdad es que me agrada eso, ¿no? Al final de cuentas, siempre ganar por nocaut es muy bonito.
As it's been said, Berlanga and his team aren't doubting Canelo's abilities, but they aren't buying into his knockout claims in any way, not even when one considers how he's been making similar claims in his previous fights. All to no avail. Saul Canelo Alvarez predicted that he would win his undisputed super middleweight title fight with Jamie Munguia in May inside 8 rounds. The Mexican rivals fought at Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena on the occasion of Cinco de Mayo weekend, when the 27-year-old Munguia entered what, by a considerable distance, represented both his toughest and most significant fight. Though Canelo Alvarez remained the strong favorite, he was being confronted by a fresher, younger, improving fighter, and one who was yet to experience defeat. Munguia had regardless also been dismissed somewhat on account of the reality that, to many observers, David Benavidez represents the more appealing challenger. On the occasion of their grand arrivals at the MGM Grand Alvarez, considered in decline partly on account of his inability to stop his past 4 opponents, spoke of the statement he is planning to make. Winning by knockout is always wonderful, right? The 33-year-old said.
Winning by knockout is always wonderful, right? So I think that I'm going to win by knockout before the 8th round.
So I think I'm going to win by knockout before the 8th round. I don't care if Munguia is younger or older. I don't care because Canelo, in the end, is different. He then continued, it's a very significant fight. It's going to be a historic one. It's two Mexicans fighting for all 4 belts for the first time. That's what I'm always looking for, to leave my mark and to put my country up high. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you to all the fans here. I'm looking forward to what's going to be an outstanding week with you all. I thank you for it, and I'm really excited to be here. Among the crowd present was someone holding a sign in support of Benavidez. Jaime Munguia deserves the respect that he's entitled to. And it's going to be a great fight, Alvarez responded, when that sign led to him being asked about the prospect of him fighting Benavidez. The fan that had the sign out there about David Benavidez, he's clearly resentful from the Gennady Golovkin fight. However, despite being able to give Jaime Munguia a knockdown, Canelo Alvarez couldn't get the knockout he had promised. But even this wasn't the first time he was disappointing his fans.
Need to knock out him because he's a great fighter. I respect his skills. He's a great fighter. I don't need that knockout, but I need to win.
As the exact scenario happened against Jermall Charlo last year. Charlo, who is the current undisputed super welterweight world champion, is jumping up 2 weight classes for this fight, but at the pre-fight press conference, he told Canelo not to underestimate him. Don't overlook my experience, don't overlook my power, and don't overlook my skills, Charlo said. As Canelo responded, I never did, and I never do with any fighter. I know what he's going to bring, and I'm ready, believe me. Jermell Charlo knocked his opponent through the ropes with a crushing one-punch KO. Canelo warns what Jermell Charlo can expect in the ring. And it's not pretty. I've been in the ring with all kinds of fighters. Jermell Charlo replied, Schlo. Before Canelo clapped back, you don't know. You haven't experienced this level of fight. You will see. You will learn. After the press conference, as Canelo spoke to the media, he made it clear that he's going for the knockout come fight night. All the fighters train for the knockout, Canelo said. To say no is a lie, and sometimes it doesn't come, and you need to prepare for the 12 rounds, but you prepare yourself for a knockout, and I'm going to try this Saturday. Just like it was with Jaime Munguia, he was unable to get the knockout victory. All he did was successfully hand Jermell Charlo the 2nd defeat of his boxing career. The Mexican took a break in his preparation and went to the Los Angeles Coliseum, where he supported the Mexican national team in its friendly match against New Zealand. Before the opening whistle, Canelo spoke to Tutin, where he launched a harsh warning to Berlanga in a new addition to this rivalry between Mexico and Puerto Rico. Despite the warning to Berlanga, Canelo highlighted the qualities of the Puerto Rican whom he is already expecting. He is a young fighter. Dangerous, but it is nothing new for me. I have experienced everything in boxing, with good fighters, strong fighters. I prepared for that. We are ready, and on Saturday, you are going to see a great fight. The Jalisco native, who will face a Puerto Rican opponent for the 4th time, said that he prepared for this fight as if it were the first time he stepped into a ring. I love what I do. I really enjoy what I do. I love boxing. I respect it very much. I feel good, better than ever. I'm at my best, and I'm going to enjoy it.
He's young, he's hungry, but it's nothing new for me. I've been in there with all the kind of fighters.
Alvarez also took time to talk about the reality of the Mexican national team and the 3rd era that the tricolor is starting with Javier Aguirre on the bench. Aguirre and Marquez will work well together to give the team that motivation and direction. As I have said, everyone must have the same mentality as the coach. Unbeaten super middleweight Edgar Berlanga started a new knockout streak by scoring a brutal 6th-round stoppage over Padre McCroy at the Cube Royale Orlando in Florida on Saturday. The official time was 2:44. The 26-year-old, with the fight, became 22-0 with 17 knockouts. McCroy is the 2nd island-born fighter Berlanga has defeated in a row, having won against Jason Quigley in his previous fight. McCroy had taken a ton of punishment resulting in a knockdown. He got up, but the towel had been thrown. Berlanga was focused and aggressive from start to finish. He had a really strong round 4, consistently landing heavy shots that buckled McCroy repeatedly. The Irishman did well to stay up. Berlanga continued to look sharp. Following up with a solid round 5 where he couldn't miss with his punches. In round 6, Berlanga finished the job. Berlanga opened up with a series of punishing rights that took McCroy's legs away in the 6th. The Irishman was swaying all over the ring in a desperate bid to stay upright, but a big left hook to the body set up 2 more devastating rights that put McCroy over. Referee Christopher Young completed the 10 count as the white towel came in from the stricken fighter's corner. After the fight, Berlanga went up to McCroy in his corner and told him he was proud of him. The two then raised each other's hands in the middle of the ring. "It feels amazing to get the knockout," said Berlanga during his post-fight interview with DAZN. "I was losing sleep over this fight. People don't understand. Irish guys are strong, and he's undefeated. And he came to fight. People are intimidated by my power, so I didn't want to just be an offensive fighter. I'm learning how to put my defense together, psych them out, and then start landing my punches. I was breaking him down little by little." Berlanga threw next to nothing in the opening round, which McCroy picked up on work rate alone. This pedestrian pace continued into the second. And the packed crowd was already getting impatient. There was some nasty stuff on the inside in the third, when Berlanga purposefully raked the Irishman with an elbow. This was a sign of frustration, although Berlanga did land some pulverizing power shots in this session. Finding his range, Berlanga took that momentum into the 4th, and his punches visibly shook McCroy. It was the same again in the 5th, and the Belfast man was doing a lot of complaining to the referee in relation to low blows, some of which was justified.
Eventually, you have to let your hands go. Been told, and McCroy landed straight.
The issue for Berlanga was there was no second phase of attack in the early going. He'd land 1 or 2 blows and then smother his follow-up assault or be dragged into a clinch. He needed to locate space and switch up the angles, which is precisely what he did in the 6th before lowering the boom. The knock on Berlanga was that his spectacular streak of 16 first-round knockouts ended as soon as he took a significant step up in class. He's mandatory now for Canelo's title. He's number 1 with the WBA, said Matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn. It's only a matter of time. Canelo Alvarez, the greatest fighter in the sport. Berlanga wants to challenge himself against the greatest fighters. Puerto Rico against Mexico? That would be a huge event. Maybe there is one more fight for Berlanga, but if the call came, he wouldn't back down. He wouldn't run away and try to survive for 12 rounds. Despite the fact that Berlanga called for Canelo next, expect the New Yorker of Puerto Rican descent to have one more bout, and once he was able to make the fight, Eddie Hearn promised that Edgar Berlanga would give Canelo Alvarez a run for his money and wouldn't be just a walk in the park. Who else can Canelo Alvarez fight right now other than David Benavidez? Promoter Eddie Hearn told Boxing News. For whatever reason,
is there a possibility that you think Edgar can beat Canelo? Or
I mean, I don't see it, but, you know, anything's possible in the sport of boxing.
He's moved to light heavyweight, so that doesn't look like it's happening. So I think Edgar Berlanga is a good pick. I think he'll give him a good fight, and it'll be a good event, but I don't see a lot of other options out there for Canelo Alvarez, if I'm honest. One thing I can say about Canelo Alvarez is he will never duck a challenge. There's no one he's afraid of. Next Saturday, September 14th, Mexican fighter Saul Canelo Alvarez returns to the ring to face Puerto Rican Edgar Berlanga, adding another chapter to the long history of great matches between Mexican and Puerto Rican boxers. The T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, will host the fight for the super middleweight title, marking Canelo's 8th defense, as he will be defending the World Boxing Council, World Boxing Organization, World Boxing Association, and the ring belts. It's worth noting that Canelo was stripped of his International Boxing Federation title for choosing to fight Berlanga instead of William Skull, who was the mandatory challenger according to the organization. Canelo, with a record of 52-2, 61 and 39 knockouts, is coming off a decision win against fellow Mexican Jaime Munguia, while Berlanga, who holds an undefeated record of 22-0 with 17 knockouts, will be fighting in his first main event and pay-per-view bout. In the co-main event, the veteran Arasandy Lara, 41 years old, born in Cuba but now residing in Houston, Texas, will defend his World Boxing Association middleweight title against two-division champion Danny Garcia, whose last fight was in 2022, where he defeated Jose Benavidez Jr. by majority decision. Another notable fight will feature former world champion Caleb Plant, who previously faced Canelo in 2021. Plant is seeking a new opportunity to reclaim the super middleweight title.
Years before, I mean, you fought, you know, Gennady 3 times, Sergey Kovalev, I mean, Danny Jacobs. Do you think that Edgar and obviously you have
and will be facing Trevor McCumbee in a fight for the World Boxing Association interim title. Canelo is yet to be defeated in the super middleweight division. He picked up the World Boxing Association and World Boxing Council belts by beating Callum Smith in 2020, before adding the World Boxing Organization with a stoppage over Billy Joe Saunders in May of 2021 and snatching the International Boxing Federation from Caleb Plant 6 months later to become undisputed. Benavidez, who has never fought lower than 168, previously held the World Boxing Council strap in 2017 and 2019, losing it first after a positive test for cocaine and on the scales the second time. He fought his way back to the mandatory status with that sanctioning body, but a fight against Alvarez continues to elude him. The champion, now with just 3 of the 4 belts after being stripped of the International Boxing Federation earlier this year, has slapped a 150 to 200 million pounds price tag on the bout, explaining, "All I see is that Benavidez weighs 25 or 30 libs more than I do on the day of the fight. I have no problem with that, but if you want to fight with him, it's $200 million. In a more recent interview with DAZN, Canelo said that he knew he was better than the 27-year-old, but was asking for big money because there would just be another fighter people demanded him to face straight after. Look, I'm better than him for sure. I always fought with everybody that the people say I'm not going to fight. If I beat him, they're going to say another fighter."
Edgar is the biggest puncher that you faced in your career, or who have you faced guys who have more power?
I don't know, my friend. I don't know yet.
You tell me after the fight?
Yeah, I'm gonna find out September 14. But you know, I'm strong. I'm strong, and I'm looking to do my best.
So they need to ask if they really want to see the fight pay me well. Asked if Benavidez winning more makes the fight worth more, he said, "Yes. Yeah, we can wait. You've seen it with Mayweather and Pacquiao, but I don't do it." Especially in contrast, Benavidez has become tired of waiting. He moved up to light heavyweight for his latest fight and has decided to remain in that division as a mandatory challenger for the winner of the undisputed contest between Artur Beterbiev.
Saw he said something like, Canelo should be careful, I knock out heavyweights in training. Does that concern you at all?
Me too. So I'm not heavyweight, but I'm more stronger than.
And Dimitri Bivol. Canelo, meanwhile, will defend his unified titles against undefeated contender Edgar Berlanga on September 14th. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace out.